Well, crisis in Afghanistan after the Taliban take over the country. So how did this happen? How did it happen so quickly? And what's next for the people in that country? There's a lot of questions here.
Right. And Dean Sanjeev Khagram from the Thunderbird School of Global Management joins us live. Dean, I'm so glad you're with us this morning.
Good morning
it
to you.
seemed like a lot of people were in our government were taken by surprise with how quickly the Taliban moved in and took over the country as we're creating this vacuum of power there.
Yeah.
Were you taken by surprise?
No, we were not. In fact, we all knew that the Taliban, despite our trillions of dollars of investment, thousands of lives lost, both Americans and obviously Afghans, that they had basically still controlled the countryside. And what's important for Americans to understand is that the Taliban and the ruling government were very much connected, not at the top levels, but in many different ways. And so as soon as the preponderance of force that only the United States can provide in the world was pulled out, the Taliban moved in. And I'm surprised that they're surprised. And we see from the Pentagon and other sources that they're not really surprised.
Yeah, they're
It was
not.
going to happen this fast.
Yeah, for sure. And I understand from reading, Thunderbird does a lot of work with Afghanistan. You've done it a lot in the past. Your thoughts on women and young girls and empowerment and how this affects them in their future?
It's a deep commitment of ours at Thunderbird and ASU more broadly. We've been working with Afghan women since 2005. We trained about 86 of them through a Project Artemis program that in fact trained the current Minister of Education, who's one of the heroines of this entire story, still fighting, struggling on the ground to empower women and girls, to protect them now. Since then, we've been engaging with hundreds and thousands of Afghan women. And it's just a horrible situation. It's a humanitarian disaster. We're doing everything in our power at Thunderbird and ASU to support these incredible leaders and champions from the very top to really ordinary businesswomen, entrepreneurs that were really rebuilding the economy of Afghanistan.
Can you take us through, for somebody who may not understand exactly what we're talking about in terms of women's rights with the Taliban, what are some of the rights that the women may have had a year ago or right now that they will not have if the Taliban enacts the Muslim law that they're dealing with over the next year or so?
Well, the past is not a perfect predictor of the future, my friends, but basically the simple story is our expectation is there will be no women's rights in Afghanistan again. When we think about education, for example, higher education, really you had virtually no women in higher education prior to the time of our involvement. And so the worst part of it is that we will see rapes and murders and killings, particularly those of leaders that have been outstanding, trying to champion women's rights, the women themselves. So I fear the worst, unfortunately.
And a lot of those businesses, and when I was watching some of the coverage late yesterday, Dean, was that are owned by women were closing or not opening at all for fear that the Taliban would make entry and they would lose their life ultimately.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. Right now, it is a humanitarian disaster and potential tragedy. And, each one of the women and men that are supporting them and are trying to make our country have some progress are in danger. We are still believing that a multilateral international response can make a huge difference. But this should have been all organized and coordinated prior to the pullout, not post.
Right, and we see people overrunning the airport. To me, it reminds me so much of some of the footage you see out of Vietnam and Saigon when we got out of there, and so many people there who were acting as our friends. Who knows what kind of retaliation they got from the Viet Cong? Are you expecting the same sort of thing?
Yeah, I think this is certainly our 21st century Saigon, and may make Saigon look like kids play as to what it happens. I'm a refugee myself, and so this is very deeply personal to me. This is heartbreaking.
Dean, thank you, and our thoughts with you and your friends, I'm sure, and family still there in that country. So thank you for talking with us this morning.
We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Have a wonderful day.